Hi, welcome. On this channel, we discuss the news making the headlines. And my name is always KBA Japan, and thank you so much for joining me today. Let's talk about Greenland. Why is there a sudden interest on that island? Greenland, the world's largest island, was long seen as a remote Arctic post. Today, it has become a strategic crossroad in an Arctic that is literally and figuratively heating up. With only about 56,000 inhabitants, mostly Inuit, and home rule under the Kingdom of Denmark, Greenland now finds itself at the center of geopolitical competition between major powers: the United States, China, Russia, and the European Union. Why this intense interest all of a sudden? In a warming Arctic, Greenland's location offers military and economic advantage, from emerging shipping routes to vast untapped resources. At the same time, the melting ice sheet and shifting climate have made Greenland a bellwether of ecological change, putting its indigenous culture and environment in a global spotlight. Today, we'll try and explore how geopolitics, climate, and culture converge in Greenland, and why the island's future has become a focal point of worldwide attention. In August 2019, an unusual story thrust Greenland into a global news. The President of the United States of America openly floated the idea of purchasing Greenland, a proposal that shocked Greenlanders and the Danes alike. It wasn't the first time the US had shown interest. Washington had even offered $100 million for Greenland back in 1946. But in 2019, the suggestion of what was termed essentially a large real estate deal was swiftly rejected as absurd by Danish officials, prompting a diplomatic spat. Greenland's government made it clear that the island was not for sale, underlying that its people are not commodities of negotiation. The 2019 episode, however, uncovered Greenland's newfound importance. In its wake, the United States took a different tack, one of engagement rather than acquisition. Less than a year later, in April 2020, the US State Department announced a $12.1 million aid package for Greenland, along with plans to reopen a US consulate in Nuuk, Greenland's capital. According to US officials, this funding will support natural resource development, education, and infrastructure, part of Washington's effort to recalibrate Arctic policy in response to China and Russia's growing interest and activities in the region. Greenland welcomed the investment, provided it came without strings attached, and the US consulate in Nuuk duly opened in June 2020, marking the first American diplomatic presence on the island since the 1950s. Other global players have made moves as well. The European Union ramped up its engagement with Greenland recently. Although Greenland exited the European Economic Community, the EU's predecessor, in 1985, the EU has maintained ties mainly in fishing and educational cooperation. Now recognizing Greenland's strategic value, the EU opened a representation office in Nuuk in March 2024 and signed a new Memorandum of Understanding in November 2023 to partner with Greenland on developing sustainable raw material supply chains. This agreement aims to secure critical minerals for Europe while respecting Greenland's development goals in the end. In short, Brussels seek a foothold in Greenland that aligns with both European green transition needs and Greenland's quest for economic growth. Within Greenland's own politics, recent development also reflects the tension between opportunity and caution. In April 2021, Greenland voters elected a new government which campaigned on environmental protection, even at the cost of pausing certain mining plans. One of the first acts of the new government was to ban uranium mining, effectively halting a major China-backed rare earth project in one of its sites due to local concerns about radioactive waste. Later that year, in July 2021, Greenland announced it would end all new oil and gas exploration after decades of hope that oil might be the ticket to prosperity. The government concluded that the environmental consequences of oil exploration and extraction are too great, noting that climate and economic common sense go hand in hand. This decision shelved Greenland's long-standing but so far unsuccessful quest to become an oil-producing nation. It also sent a message that Greenland's future development will be weighed against environmental cost. So these events, an American president's offer to buy the island, the new diplomatic outpost, European partnership, and Greenland's own policy shift illustrate how rapidly Greenland's geopolitical profile has risen in the past few years. What was once a peripheral Danish territory is now seen as a key piece in the global puzzle. Next, let's dive deeper into the why, starting with Greenland's unparalleled location in the Arctic. Greenland's place on the map grants it outsized strategic importance, spanning the North Atlantic and extending into the high Arctic. Greenland is like a giant Arctic fortress perched between North America and Europe. Its geography offers critical vantage point for military and surveillance needs and sits adjacent to emerging polar shipping lanes, making it increasingly vital for global trade routes. Greenland has been integral to US and NATO defense strategy for decades. During World War II, the United States established bases in Greenland to guard the North Atlantic. In the Cold War that followed, the US built the Thule Air Base in northwest Greenland, now known as the Pacific Space Base, which remains a cornerstone infrastructure for missiles, early warning systems, and space surveillance. From Greenland's far north ice cap, US sensors can scan the skies for intercontinental missiles and track satellites overhead. The island's Arctic real estate is so strategic that as early as 1951, Denmark and the US signed a defense treaty giving American forces right in Greenland, an arrangement updated in 2004 and still in force. In essence, Greenland is a forward listening post for North American defense. Plugged into NATO's broader security network, Greenland's position also factors into controlling the North Atlantic Guic Gap, the maritime choke point formed by Greenland, Iceland, and the UK. During the Cold War, NATO navies watched these gaps to monitor Soviet submarines attempting to break into the Atlantic. Today, with Russian naval activities on the uptick in the north, that strategic calculus endures. In fact, as the Arctic Ocean's ice cover recedes, the shortest route for any potential missiles or bombers from Europe or Russia towards North America will be over the Arctic, essentially over or near Greenland. This makes Greenland's airspace and radar stations crucial for early warnings. The US military plainly recognizes that geography equals power in the far north, and Greenland's geography is unparalleled in this regard. Beyond military matters, climate change is unlocking new Arctic sea routes that elevate Greenland's strategic location for global commerce. Each summer, as the polar ice retreats, the prospect improves for the Northwest Passage through Canada's Arctic archipelago and the Northern Sea route along Russia's Siberian coast to become viable shipping corridors. These routes could drastically shorten voyages between Asia, Europe, and North America. Greenland sits near the Atlantic gateway of both, adjacent to the Northwest Passage exit in the east and overlooking the North Atlantic approach to the Arctic. Planners envision future deep water ports in Greenland that could serve as a hub for transatlantic shipping and search and rescue operations. Even now, more ice-free days mean more vessels skirting Greenland shores. The island's proximity to emerging Arctic shipping lanes is one reason it's deemed high strategic importance by analysts. In Beijing, policymakers included Greenland in their vision of Polar Silk Road, integrating Arctic Sea routes into China's Global Belt and Road Initiative. All these factors, military, commercial, and climatic, converge to amplify Greenland's strategic value. As one report puts it, Greenland sits at the center of the Arctic chessboard, offering advantages for surveillance and early warnings while becoming ever more significant as Arctic shipping opens up. So let's examine how major world powers are vying for influence in that region. Greenland may be autonomous, but it doesn't exist in a vacuum. The United States, China, Russia, and the European Union each have strategic interest in Greenland's future, and their approaches reveal a lot about the new geopolitics of the Arctic. And in all of this, the interests of the people of Greenland must be taken into consideration before any decision is made. From what we've discussed, there is a world of opportunities for the Greenland people, but it also comes at a cost. And all these factors must be assessed by the people of Greenland, their leadership, so as to determine their future. Thank you.